Hello everyone, Reggie Time here, and we're going to be looking at some hands today that I played on Sky. But before we do that, I just want to give my thoughts on Runitonce. My last video was a Runitonce video. Um, we looked at the games, and the site was kind of buggy. The games didn't seem that great, and I'm going to go out on a bit of a limb here. It's not going to be a particularly popular opinion because everyone wants the site to be something new, innovative, exciting, and like good for the game. But at the minute, Run It Once Poker for me, for people who are watching my channel, who are usually probably losing or struggling micro stakes players, um, it's not going to be a good option for you guys right now. I put some money on. I was fully intending clearing a deposit bonus, but the games are pretty much horrible. There's plenty of spew in the splash pots, but other than that, it's just regs, bad regs, decent-ish regs. Very few fish. We saw a couple of pots in the last video where people just dumped stacks on us, which is nice, but that was not in any way a fair reflection of the games there. I think it's a really bad option right now. I think the site's buggy. It's got very few limits available. It's like 4NL, 20NL, 100NL. No tournaments. It feels rushed to me. It feels like they've rushed it out. Maybe they were just desperate to launch it. Maybe, I don't know. Maybe they just needed to launch it to try and get some money coming in. I don't know. I've absolutely no idea. That's just me wondering why they would have released a relatively poor product, in my opinion. And I know that isn't going to be popular with a lot of people. But yeah, for me, the games are shit, the software isn't great, and the choice of games available isn't great, and also the liquidity isn't great. There's not that many players in the pool a lot of the time, and my guess is a lot of the players are the same people. Sometimes you log in, there'll be like, I don't know, 48 people playing 20NL. I'm presuming that's maybe only a pool of 10 or 12 players. Maybe, I'm not sure. I could be wrong on that, but right now, it's got to be said, I think it's quite disappointing. Hopefully, over long term, they'll add more limits. They'll start to attract some recreational players because at the moment, I mean, I don't see where they're advertising. I don't see. I think they're only getting players coming to the site who come from Run It Once, 2+2, all those types of places. They're not advertising anywhere in the mainstream media that I can see, and they certainly don't seem to be attracting any fish. Hopefully, things will get better, but for now, for me, it's a must avoid. It really is, and I didn't want to have to say that, but it really is. It's a must avoid for anybody. I mean, if you're struggling to already win at poker, then I think going there right now probably isn't a good option. If you haven't gone there already, I would say keep your powder dry on the first deposit because you get the good first deposit bonus. Wait to see how things develop. Wait to see if games get a little softer, if it starts to pick up more traffic, if they start to advertise in areas where they can hopefully attract some recreational players, some fish. But right now, I'm afraid for me, it's to leave it alone. So I've been playing mostly on Sky again for the last few days, and we got some hands to review. Some of these are from like a week or so back. They're just hands that have been like stored up for a while to review, but then not bothered doing it. So we've got how many hands? 8 hands to look at. Most of them are going to have like quite a common theme, and I'm hoping to make a specific point um, during the video and like by the end of the video. Most of these are kind of coolerish type situations, but hopefully we'll be able to raise some interesting points along the way. So we have the first hand here with 2 jacks in a 30NL game. We put in a raise, and we get 1 caller. We get a pretty good flop. We c-bet. Our opponent raises. Straight away, we're thinking, well, 2 jacks pretty good. Wet board. What's our options here? I mean, folding clearly isn't one of them. I think raising might work. We could definitely get some value from some flush draws. Having the jack of hearts isn't that good here. We'd rather not have it, so they can have more of the jack tens, jack nines, queen jacks, things like that. But I think it's way too early to fold our hand. So we do call. Turn is a 10. We check. Our opponent now leads out quite small. And again, we have no option but call here. If we'd bet bigger, we could start to consider folding, because some hands have improved on this turn. 9-7's improved, 10-8's improved. I guess that's it really for the hands that have improved. Flush draws haven't got there, but again, he maybe has less flush draws. Now, if he does have like a hand like, well, we can't have Jack Queen of Hearts, ignore that. But yeah, basically the bet's just too small. It's just a call, and the river is like the offsuit 3. We check, and this time he like upsizes really quite big. And again, here I think having the Jack of Hearts is not mega important here, but I think if we are in close-ish spots, then maybe we should be looking at things like, well, having the Jack of Hearts here, maybe we don't call with the Jack of Hearts, and we do call when we don't have the Jack of Hearts. It's a weird spot, and then it's not a weird spot, it's just an annoying spot. He probably doesn't have like kings, queens, aces. He can certainly have all the sets. Some flush draws. The one main straight draw got there. Well, one of the main straight draws got there. Obviously, the 7-5's missed. And the question is, do we like call or not? What do we think an opponent's range looks like? And throughout the theme of this, we're going to be demonstrating that typically when players are being more aggressive, they just have it a lot more than we'd like to think they do. And when they're being more passive, maybe they don't have quite such strong ranges. And I know that's like really obvious. It's a really obvious thing to say, but how often do we all kind of like know it's obvious and then make tight folds? And this is kind of what we're going to get through in the video. I did elect to call here, and our opponent had the 2 pair from jump and dragged down a pretty tasty pot. And then this is going to be like the theme running through the video, and we're not going to be losing all of the pots, by the way, but hopefully by the end of it I've picked out some hands, and there's been other hands where they've been smaller pots where people have raised and not necessarily been mega strong, but this is like when people are raising and taking strong lines continually afterwards, and we just have bluff catchers. It's like, I guess the question I'm asking is, how often should we be bluff catching? So that was like the first time we lost the pot, and I think we could probably have maybe made a super tight fold on that river. I'm not convinced. I wasn't convinced at the time that my call was good, but then when I looked it back, I think, well, fucking hell, like if we fold like jacks there, we're going to be folding a hell of a lot of hands, because obviously we're folding jacks, we're probably folding queens, kings, and aces. Although I suspect like aces and kings are somewhat stronger than jacks there in terms of he can then have pocket jacks that's value raising, pocket queens that's value raising that hasn't 3-bet pre. But I think we're talking about small details there. So we move on to the next hand. We have 2 queens this time. So under the gun limper, we isolate to 150. And opponent calls. Pretty wet flop. He checks. Make a nice c-bet. He just calls. Turn pairs to 4, which is probably a decent enough card. Probably hasn't got too much 4x in his under the gun limp call, check call range. He can still definitely have like plenty of worse hands. He can call all the under pairs, draws, 8x, 6x, I guess. So we obviously make another bet. And at this point, I think we probably would need to fold if he raised. I think if he does have any draws, he's probably not waiting for the turn to raise them when the board pairs. So I think here this will be a clear bet fold on the turn, where our opponent just calls. River is a jack. He checks, and we just go all in. He calls, and he had 2 7s. So that's kind of reiterating the point that we tried to make earlier, that when people, hopefully, we're going to demonstrate throughout the video, people will check call numerous streets with pretty marginal hands. I mean, I don't hate his play here till the river, and I can see why he's called. We've got a few draws that have missed, like certainly got lots of flush draws that have missed, I guess. Some good shots, maybe like 10-9, stuff like that. Maybe like 9-7, all that's really hard for us to have. So yeah, I don't hate his line to the river, but I think he should call. But again, the point being that he's flopped a reasonable hand on the flop. He's got like a second pair to the board and a gut shot. But he's not chose to raise with that hand, even though he was a relatively aggressive fish. And then he's just said to call down. And so the point I'm trying to make is we shouldn't stop betting against these players, but when they raise, it significantly changes the picture in the hand. So yeah, that's that hand there. I think we obviously played it completely fine. I think he played it fine. Well, limping pre is not fine, but post flop, I guess he's played it fine to the river when I think he should probably find a fold. Moving on to the next hand, we have a king queen. We 3-bet. This guy he was a monkey. He was doing like lots of limp calling, raise calling. He was just a monkey. He was a real. He was just in lots of pots. His VPIP must have been way in excess of 60. He was definitely making the game. We get a super flop here, obviously, with the top 2 pair. Fire out c-bet. He calls. Beautiful turn card. We bet again. Maybe we could bet bigger here. So just set up like a really easy river jam. I'm not sure. If he calls here, we're gonna have 17 in the pot and 14 behind. But I think maybe, if he's got a king X, he's never folding. Queen X, maybe not folding. Jack 10, Ace Jack, maybe not folding. So I think we probably could have gone big here to set up like a much easier river shove. But I elected to not go super big. He calls. River's a 7, which on the face of it seems like a really good card. What 7x can he have that really calls a 3-bet, then calls 2 barrels? So we bet, and I bet kind of small here. I was hoping to target his Queen X and his King X. Obviously, if he's got a king, he's never folding no matter what size we bet, I wouldn't imagine. But I'm really targeting here stuff like Queen Jack, Queen 10, Ace Queen, Queen 9, Queen 8. He can have so much Queen X in his range here. So I was betting smallish to make sure he called with his Queen X like all of the time. And like obviously never expecting him to fold a king. And he decided to go all in. And I'll be honest with you, I snap called here because I just thought, well, we're ahead of almost everything. Didn't expect him to have too much 7x. Certainly didn't expect him to have pocket queens, given there's only one combination left. And he almost certainly 4-bets that hand pre-flop. So I was really quite comfortable with the situation. But he turned up with the 7. And I'm not posting this as some kind of bad beat hand. Again, it's just another example of, even when it's just really hard for them to have it, when we're getting raised post-flop in microstakes games, most of the time our opponent is just going to have a hand that they're really excited about and really fond of. Yeah, so this wasn't as a bad beat. This isn't for me mourning or anything like that. I mean, I'm delighted to be able to play with these players. But it's just another example of, hopefully, as we're going to demonstrate throughout the next 5 hands, and when people are calling, they tend to have the second best hand a lot of the time, and when they're raising, they tend to have something pretty close to the nuts. Moving on here, we open the Ace King suited under the gun in a 20-0 game. A loose passive fish calls from the cutoff. We get a really good flop. We c-bet. He raises. And again, I mean, at this point, there's nothing to say about the hand. We have 2 overcards. We have like backdoor flush draw. And we're just going to get the money in. We're probably going to be behind to at least 10x, would be my guess. He shouldn't have draws very often because we have like 2 diamonds, so it does eliminate a lot of his potential flush draws. Certainly his nut flush draws, of course, he can't have them. I expect him here to turn up a lot with like a lot of 10x. It's just saying, fuck it, let's go. But of course, he can have sets. Maybe he can sometimes have stuff like 8-7, 4-3 even, maybe. But we pile the money in. He calls. And again, just to demonstrate the point, he just does have the set. Would he have played differently with a hand like 8-7? I personally believe he would. I think he would just have gone call, fold if he didn't improve. This guy was like a relatively passive fish, but again, it's a cooler. I'm not trying to pretend there's like anything super exciting going on here, but I'm just trying to demonstrate over and over again how when people raise, they have it. When people don't raise, they don't have it anywhere near as often. They're just having hands that are bluff catchers. Oh, the hand hasn't played on, which is unfortunate, so we'll have to just reload it a moment. And we'll play it through at double quick time, because we know we've done the discussion now. This is just to give closure on the hand for people who like seeing results. So we bet, he raises, we pile it in, of course. He calls, He had 3 6s. Unfortunately, we ran well in this one and we backed into the straight. We kind of hit the backdoor draw that we weren't really even counting on. Of course, when you make the bet, you know you've got the backdoor straight draw, but when you've got the 2 overs and the nut flush draw, you're not expecting or hoping for the Jack Queen to come. You're kind of expecting to get there in a slightly more conventional manner, but we'll take it. This hand we have the King Jack of clubs. We isolate an under the gun limper. And we flop pretty decent. Flop a top pair. We bet small blind comes along and calls. Turn is a 6. I mean, look at that pot size now and upon review. I think I could maybe just jam there. And try to target all of his like weak like calling type hands, worst jacks. They're probably calling all in. 9x probably doesn't call an all in. Maybe it does, who knows. Queen 10 probably calls anything. Yeah, given the stack to pot ratio, I think I should have probably bet a little bit more on the flop so we can just like have a pot size jam on the turn, but we didn't. We went about it this way instead. Our opponent check raised us all in. We called and he had the 9-6, which again is just it's another demonstration, and I promise it isn't a whine about look at me how bad I run. This guy's called 9-6 out of the big blind and turn 2 pair. That isn't the point we're making here. It isn't about moaning and whining. Just very much about if he had 9-8 there, he was probably just calling, but he doesn't. He has 2 pair. And he puts the raise in. Again, just another demonstration of when people are calling. Because on the flop, he just check called with his second pair. And then he check raised the turn when he hit 2 pair. This video really is all about encouraging you guys to just respect the raise when it comes in. Maybe when you're playing against regulars who can have slightly better ranges for their raise and more bluffs in their ranges when they're raising, because they understand that, you know, other regulars aren't always c-betting this like super nutted stuff. So against regulars, especially on like coordinated boards, maybe you can just say, right, they always have it, so let's just overfold, overfold, overfold. Because regulars will have some strongish draws here. They'll have some like gut shots, they'll have some flush draws, they'll have some open enders, etc. So against regulars, maybe this is a spot where you maybe wouldn't be able to like check fold that turn. But I think against fish, and I don't think we should check fold it because it's at £4 left. The point I'm making is when fish raise, they are typically way, way, way more nutted than when regulars raise. Pretty much all these hands what we've seen in this video, and we're going to like see the next 3 hands, they were all against fish because it's a completely different kettle of fish when you're playing against regulars. Your c-betting ranges are going to change, their ranges are going to change, and then your defending ranges are going to change. This is specifically about when fish raise, you know, trying to demonstrate that when fish raise, they just tend to have 2 pair plus nearly all of the time, and when they don't raise, they're usually in top pair at best and usually worse than top pair type situations. Move on to the next hand. It's a 13L hand. We have 2 aces. Get called by the player on the button and by the small blind. Pretty unpleasant looking flop. I mean, we like it. We've got 2 aces, but there's like all kinds of like dreadful runouts for us here that we wouldn't be too pleased with. We bet. We get the call. We bet the turn. Our opponent just calls again, and then the river is the 8 of diamonds. Like, could it be any worse for 2 aces here? We have nothing but a check fold at this point, in my opinion. I can't remember. I plugged this hand in a week or so back. I haven't looked at it back. I hope a check fold. I think it should just be a check fold. We check, and opponent checks back, and 7-3. I did not even remember that hand, but there we go. Look, why has it won it? We didn't win that hand. I'm not sure why I must just have made a mistake when I made the hand, because we didn't win it. We lost the hand. We lost the hand to a straight. But our opponent just checked back like a hand, in my opinion, that he should probably bet. But obviously he's like really scared of like the flush or something. Maybe he's scared of us having, I don't know, Jack Queen. No idea. But again, it was like this hand I was putting, I guess, at the time, because the guy's called twice with like a pair, then like a really moderate gut shot on a wet board, and then hasn't bet the river with a straight when there's maybe things out there that he's scared of. Yeah, I've obviously made a mistake when I was plumbing in the result of who won the hand, because we didn't win. But yeah, again, demonstrates that people aren't raising, but they are certainly capable of calling pretty damn wide more than one street. So again, we need to continue to make sure we value bet well against fish, but just respect the raise. We got two streets of value with our hand, and then we got stuck out on, and we weren't forced to pay off, thankfully. But it would have been like a really easy fold, obviously. Bit disappointed that I put the wrong result in, but there we go. Here we have two tens. A 20 now again, we raise to 60 and we get two callers. Really dry board, obvious C bet. We get min raised, which is kind of vomit inducing. Super dry board, almost no draws here. Ace 4, Ace 2, 6 4, maybe some 7 6, 4 6. So that's some draws there. Do I think fish check min raise draws? No. But do I think he's capable of having like 9x here, a decent amount? Yes. Are people sometimes capable of like just check min raising middle pair in an attempt to find out where they are? Fish, certainly yes. Regulars, absolutely not. But I mean, not clearly, tens is just too strong to fold here, especially to a min raise. So we do go ahead and make the call, I believe. Turn is an 8 of diamonds. He bets, but he bets pretty small, and by now I'm thinking, oh, fuck's sake. He's taken a really strong line, but he's using sizes that make it really difficult to fold. So we do put the call in. Turn is a 7 of diamonds. Our opponent checks. We check back. And he shows a 5-3, which again is like the fish has check min raised the flop. He's bet the turn when he's really quite liked his hand. The river's obviously scared him and he's checked. And this is just what fish do when they think they're strong. They will go raise, bet, etc. And then he gets scared. And he's probably right to be a little bit scared. The backdoor flush has got there. All kinds of straights got there with his 7 river. So, again, I think it's reasonable for him. I think his line is reasonable. Pre-flop, it's clearly not reasonable. Post-flop, he shouldn't just check min raise. He should make his raise bigger with his two pairs. But again, it demonstrates that fish are pretty much face up post-flop. And we should probably, again, just show a little bit more respect when they raise. We can't do anything this hand. I don't think there's anything. I could play this hand a million times. I don't think I'd do anything differently. We could maybe, arguably, try and turn our hand into a bluff on the river and shove. We have a pot-sized bet left. Do I think a fish is going to, if he's like had a set here, do I think they're going to check fold the set on the river? Probably not. They're probably going to hate life and call. So we could argue that we could turn our hand into a bluff once he checks, because once he checks, we know he doesn't have super strong hands. He doesn't have flushes. He doesn't have straights. But that doesn't necessarily mean that he's going to fold hands that he previously thought was good for value. On to the last hand of the video. We isolate a limper with 10-8 suited. And we flop gin. We bet. Our opponent raises. We have an easy call. His range for raising here, in my opinion, is going to be some tens, pocket threes, maybe over pairs. He's like limp call with jacks or something like that. I mean, he shouldn't. Again, a lot of people are saying, well, he can't have jacks, he can't have queens, kings, aces. He can. He can absolutely have like kings, queens, jacks, aces here, 10x, pocket threes, maybe flush draws, but not as likely, I don't think. I'm not saying he always has like tons of aces, kings, queens, but like, lots of players do just like trap with them, they'll limp call and look to like fast play them post up. I've certainly come across that pretty much all of my time playing poker. People turning up with value hands you don't expect them to have because of their pre-flop actions. So you can't rule them out. You just don't rule every combo in. But obviously we have like a really easy call. Turns to jack, he jams again with super easy call. and our opponent just had something incredibly strong again, which again demonstrates that, it doesn't demonstrate, it doesn't prove it like in, beyond question. But again, fish raising typically very strong hands. Of course, we can never ever fold here. And again, this isn't me moaning about being cooled or anything like that, because he can absolutely have 10-9, 10-8, 10-7, 10-6 suited, 10-jack, which gets there on the turn. And obviously Queen 10 and Ace 10 that beat us. So it's not a moan. It's just again another example of fish just looking to fast play strong hands. Fortunately, on this one, we do get there on the river with quads, which was pretty nice, and it set that guy off something chronic. He was just berating me in chat. Yeah, it was fun. That one was a fun one. But yeah, the point of the video is something that it's a lesson that I've known a long time, but recently I haven't been paying attention to, because I've been paying off way more than I should be in these games. So this is kind of like, I'm making this video as much of a reminder to myself that we need to be like super respectful of post-flop raises. And as much as it is to you guys who maybe kind of know it, but again just struggle to deliver it, it's a difficult thing to do. When you have a made hand post flop that has value and you get raised, it's really difficult to find that fold button. I totally understand it, but hopefully this video will prompt some of you guys to reassess your calling ranges specifically when fish raise, even in spots where you think, what can they have? More often than not, and this, I mean, go back and check in your database if you play on sites that could be tracked. Run filters for when you were raised on the flop and got to showdown, when you were raised on the turn and got to showdown, and you won't always see that you got the worst hand, because sometimes you just have a better value hand than them, stronger value hand than them, but a significant, I'd say at least 75-80% of the time, you're going to find your opponents are having a hand they are in their own mind raising for value. Now sometimes they might be raising hands that don't necessarily, that would be better played as a call, but in their mind they're like, right, I've got top pair plus and I'm raising for value. When fish tend to raise you post flop, an enormous percentage of the time they have in their minds a value hand, and it's just something that I'm certainly going to bear in mind going forward, because it's definitely a leak I've had probably for the last few months, just like refusing to believe that my like reasonable made hands post flop a beat. And because now and again you do have the best hand and people are bluffing, it kind of emboldens you to call some more when probably you shouldn't. It's something I'm going to work very hard on in the next few weeks to try and find some more disciplined folds post flop. And given that I've been working with quite a few new players lately, and it's a problem they've been having, never knowing when to fold like made hands post flop when they get raised. It's clearly a problem that lots of other players have too. So yeah, I guess I've rambled a little bit towards the end of this video, but the overall premise of it is, keep betting your value hands. Don't stop betting your value hands. Don't get too passive. Don't fear the raise coming, because a lot of the times the raise doesn't come. Fish just call with worse hands. But when you do get raised by fish post flop, you should, I guess the message I'm giving out is, you should strongly consider folding, a lot of made hands, particularly made hands that aren't going to improve very often on later streets, and kind of don't do very well at like blocking your opponent's value ranges. So yeah, it's been a bit of a ramble this video. Again, it's been more of a reminder. Well, it's been a reminder to myself that I think I've needed to respect the raises when the fish raise. But hopefully, it serves as something useful for you guys who are struggling to win at poker, especially the guys that frequently come in the Facebook group, or you see them posting on other forums. I can't beat fish. I can't beat fish. I can't beat fish. The easiest way to beat fish is bet, hope they fold. Sorry, it's just bet, hope they call. Bet, hope they call. Bet, fold to the raise. If you bet, hope they call, fold to the raise against fish, and you're really good, and you've got the stones to make good thinnish value bets, and then you've got the strength to fold to the raise, you're going to significantly improve your win rate, because you are going to get tons and tons of value. This isn't fish don't always have it, of course. Fish quite often have significantly worse hands. So the message is, please don't stop value betting. But when you are value betting and you get raised, pause and give significant thought to the possibility of folding some quite strong made hands. So yeah, I hope you guys have enjoyed the video. As always, if you have any comments, please leave them below. If you want to get in touch with me to do some more specific work with your own hands and your own situations you find problematic, please do get in touch. Find the Facebook group, add me on Skype, which details are below the video. Email me, details below the video, if you would like to do some work with me. And I'd be delighted to hear from you. But we're going to leave it there for now. Take care, everybody, and we'll see you soon.